flustered a little bit.
When I was there, she seemed a little
Like jittery.
Yeah, jittery, but like she was totally pretty calm and collected, I guess.
A generally high amped up person, so
So she handled that.
so
fine.
she
Yeah.
probably was fine with it.
So it's normal for her.
So, I'm glad they were okay. Sounds like it was a crazy driver in the car.
Yeah.
And then we were out in our neighbors and realized the truck is our neighbor's truck
Oh, really?
that they got pushed into.
Dang. That's too bad. Did you talk to them at all?
Just for a minute. Yeah.
Was it the Ridgeline parking lot?
Yeah.
Always.
Bumper cars in there.
It is bumper cars in that parking lot.
The officer. Write tickets in there.
Not in parking
They're
lots.
not in parking lots, yeah.
Well,
That's
the
super annoying.
Ridgeline parking lot is bumper cars.
Oh, they played yesterday. Yeah.
That's without
I'm glad
ice.
they were okay.
Without
Yeah,
snow.
gee, I know,
Sunshine.
right? No snow.
Going too fast.
You gotta get through that lunch hour, you know?
You can't be coming home for lunch anymore. Go anywhere else. Just stay at school.
It's crazy. Nobody
Yeah.
paid any.
So was your daughter involved in it?
Well, they were
She was
just,
riding
they were
fast
with them going to lunch,
Oh,
but they hadn't even like started the car and they got, somebody cut the corner and he drug his car across and pushed them into another car. And he was borrowing somebody else's car.
worst
Well, my
nightmare.
son Josh wrestled with, my son Porter wrestled with your son Josh.
Oh, Porter was here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What's
So-
Porter doing?
He's in California on mission.
Nice.
Josh is North Carolina? Where is he?
Romania.
Oh, in Georgia, that's right.
Beef, welcome.
How is that?
Good, how are you?
Thanks for coming. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
How are you?
His first
Hopefully this goes
How
soon.
are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Saw you the other night over at the
What language is he
Cache
speaking?
County Fire District meeting. I was there, yeah.
Daughter in Lithuania, she learned
Yeah.
Russian. We know all those wild languages.
That's all right.
I don't
Eh.
know any wild languages. Oh, you were?
No, that was kind of a,
Your mission? I served there too. Yeah, yeah, I was a Russian speaking. Yeah. 2000, 2001? Yeah. Okay.
Kind of a cool part of the world, but I wonder, does it similar or different? I guess Armenia is not part of NATO. Yeah.
But this is an Estonia sweater from my mission. I pull it out at Christmas. That's it, because it's itchy. Yeah,
Well, this is my Christmas coat.
yeah.
Nice to meet you too.
Where's your red?
I don't know, I'm not festive today, guys.
The most festive person on this council that loves lights
City,
and all
city.
that kind of stuff.
Festive
Kathleen.
clothes, I don't know, what's wrong with me? What is this?
I'm just reminding everyone, if you want to speak, you'll need to sign. If you're not on the signature page, you will not be able to speak. Okay.
evening.
Chief Thompson.
Okay, we're 1 minute after. I'm Kathleen Alder, Mayor of Providence. You're in the Providence City Council meeting for Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. Thank you for attending. We have with us Jeff Nebaker and Brent Speth, Janelle Seeley, Carrie Kirk, and David Coons, council members. The Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Brent, led by Brent.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. Please repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I will give the opening prayer unless there's someone out there that would like to do it. Okay. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to come before thee today. We're so grateful to have the opportunity to be here as a city council. We ask for thy guidance as we make decisions. Help us to be wise and be able to feel good about the decisions that are made. We're grateful for Providence City and for the great city that it is. Help us to always do those things that will be pleasing to those that are citizens here. We are grateful for this country, for the freedoms we have. We ask thy blessing on all government leaders that they might make wise decisions on our behalf. Bless those who are presenting, that they'll be able to present what they have prepared. These things we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So we'll have the council reports. Does anyone want to go first? Janelle?
I went to the National League of Cities and Towns conference in November with Ryan and Kathleen. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was the main sponsor, and they talked about becoming a Just Serve City and kind of highlighting the platform they have to do service projects. And I think David just does an awesome job at the things that he does. Like he highlighted last month, the park that he helped Next Meter kind of sponsor in the city. So I just think that's a great way to bring the community together when we find ways to serve together. The funding for the library, the Cache County Council approved 6 months of funding for the library. The library board, we met last week, and we're kind of looking for different ways to come up with the other half of the funding, reaching out to benefactors, fundraising, and reaching out to the cities. The board would like the cities that to pay a proportional amount based on the number of users that they have to kind of help make up that deficit. So I'm going to be reaching out to different cities to discuss that. The city tree lighting was great. The snow came right on cue. It started falling right before we turned on the lights. And I don't think
It
it's
was
been
beautiful,
back
actually.
since, but the ambiance was perfect. It was just fun to see the community gather and come together for a good cause. This month, just by information for the public, our representative, Casey Snyder, who he lives in Paradise, but he's doing town hall meetings around the valley before the legislative session starts. And I believe he'll be here on the 29th of December from 6 to 7 here in the
Yes,
council
that's true.
chambers with cider and donuts, and you can ask him all the questions you have, and maybe bring concerns to him, things that you'd like him to address during the legislative session. And then I just wanted to express appreciation to Jeff. This is his last council meeting with us, and just appreciate the 4 years of service that he's done for the community and the time that he's put in. So thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay. Who wants to be next?
I'll be next.
Okay.
So I was not here at the last council meeting. I had surgery and didn't feel up to attending and sitting, but I did attend at the invitation of the mayor, attend Cache County Fire District meeting, and a report that they're trying to consider, and the chief can help me out here a little bit, but they're trying to consider how to structure that or how to put people on that board. Right now it seems to be more appointed, and they're trying to see if they would have elected people on the board, trying to see if they want to be a taxing entity. So there's quite a few things that need to be worked out with that fire district at this point in time. So it's probably going to evolve over the next little while. And so I did attend a Christmas tree lighting, and that, like Janelle said, it was very nice. So we had a good turnout. It was a good evening, and it was fun to be together. I also met with Ryan. We discussed several issues, and I was very happy with spending some time with Ryan in the information that we went over, discussed issues with the code, discussed issues with the plans, and so I appreciate Ryan's time. And I would also like to say thank you, Jeff, for your service. And yeah, 4 years, and
Flies by.
it flies by. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Jeff?
I really don't have much. I'm headed out, and I know there's a new Cache County School District calendar that's out, and we're going to school later in August and going into June, and we have 2 weeks again in December. I don't know how that affects the city. I don't think it does, but
Kids might have an uprising if they have to go into June.
anyway, it's been a good 4 years. I know there's been ups and downs. I've tried to do what I thought I was put in here to do and listen to the people, so I hope I did my job right. Even though there's times when we don't all agree on things. Thank you it's been good to work with you and get to know all of you better, and the city manager and staff. I really do appreciate them and everything I've learned. So have a good time the next 4 years. I wish you all the best, Scott. So I don't have anything else to say, but thank you.
You never were like,
I never really
never
did
did
say a
really
lot,
talk a
so,
lot,
yeah.
but we appreciate your service. Thank you. Okay, Carrie or Dave?
Well, Janelle already mentioned the possibility of becoming a just serve city. So I'll dig into that a little bit more. I got mayor's email about that, and I'll figure it out, and hopefully we could get that designation.
It'd be nice.
It's kind of cool, and we do have a lot of residents and businesses even now that are willing to serve and want to serve and are looking for those opportunities. So I think we could do a lot of good with that. Not much going on with mosquito abatement. They did give some interesting statistics though in the last meeting, and one of which was, since we had such dry weather, we didn't have as many mosquitoes in the traps, and therefore used, I think it was about 60% less larvicide than the prior year, which saved us a little bit of money, and we'll have some left over for next year, and able to build a little bit of a reserve in funding because of that. But because of the dry year also, we had an increase in West Nile virus. Birds and mosquitoes like to congregate together around wetland areas where they drink and breed, and that's not a good combination since birds are the carrier, and then humans are the end carrier after we get bit by the mosquitoes. So there was a little bit of an uptick there, but so we'll see what happens next year with that. They're really good at monitoring with the traps and counting, and there were, I can't remember the percentage, but also just less in the traps. I think I said roughly that. Let's see. Oh, also went to the tree lighting. That was great. I got there with my son just in time for him to hang his ornament on the tree, and then we heard 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it was lit. It was awesome. And we helped with the cleanup a little bit. And just one fun thing I appreciated and loved, and my son had fun, but Ryan gave him a tub of cookies to walk down the Santa aisle and hand out. And after people took what they wanted of the rest of them, Ryan grabbed some handfuls and stuffed my son's pockets in his coat, each pocket. Oh, you need some more, you need some more. So thank you, Ryan. That was just a good moment of levity there. And while my wife doesn't appreciate people eating things that have been touched, a 14-year-old boy doesn't care about that at all. So he's got his Tupperware of cookies somewhere hidden in his bedroom. So that was a fun night. I think that's about it for me. Emails were down a little bit, a lot from last month. I responded to a couple, and I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and Jeff, I've only known you 2 years, but it's been great to work with you as well. And
Thanks.
welcome Scott to the program. So thanks.
So one thing I love about this time of year is just the community coming together. I was proud of the youth council and the depth that they added to the tree lighting this year, and it was fun to work with them on helping to make that happen. When the tree was lit, I was out buying more candy canes for Santa. The celebration grows every year. I was worried about attendance this year because they didn't have the children's choir, but that was nothing to worry about. It was awesome. I wanted to share the members of this community are doing so much good. I was involved with planning, and my husband kind of headed up a stake Light the World event for the south third of the city, and it was incredible. The bishops submitted 121 specific needs within our stake, and my husband made some paper giving machines. And that night, even though the advertising was dismal, all 121 of those needs were taken, plus hundreds more of more generic needs. And I was also out at the Light the World opening the other night, and just so fun to see the community helping each other. And I'm so glad to live in a place like that. I also did one other fun gathering this month. I went to the interfaith lunch. The mayors were invited, and Kathleen asked me to go in her place. It was at the First Presbyterian Church, and it was also neat to gather there and have the leaders of all of the different types of religious congregations together, really trying to create unity within our community. There's so much good, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Okay. Well, as you listen to the council reports, you can see that they're all out doing good things in the community. I won't repeat a lot of those things I'm involved with as well. When people see me coming, they say, "Oh, she's going to ask us for something," and that's true. Probably
am.
It's really nice to go and talk to our merchants and the people in the community, because they're so willing to give to causes. I believe we're the only city that raises money for nonprofits in the whole valley. So when we have our Christmas tree lighting, we made money and we share that with our partners. We were able to give money to the families that were involved in that accident, and we're able to give money to the family place. I delivered a check today. And so it really is nice to see our community turning out to help other people. Just wanted to remind people that the giving machines are down in front of the bread store. What's it called?
Great Harvest.
Great Harvest.
On Center Street.
And it was pretty fun. You just look at the things that are listed in there, and it's like buying a candy bar, only you're buying diapers or you're buying clothing. I heard a report on the radio on KSL, and they said that there were some women, I believe in Somalia, that people bought chickens in the giving machine, and they had, I think they were given 50 chickens, and they have parlayed that into over 500 chickens, and now they can provide meat and eggs to their community, and they're making money so that they are able to get the things that they need. And so just a little bit goes a long ways. So I just wanted to remind you that we do have the Cache Valley does have, I think there are 4 machines. Are there 4? 3 or 4?
Three.
3 of them. And we'd like to encourage you to give as a community to help people out. And the money stays pretty local. There are a couple of international things in there, but most of them are local. Diapers for babies and for children. So anyway, we have lots going on. Jeff, I've enjoyed having you here, even though you don't say very much, but he's effective. He, when you're new on the council, you get to go to the mosquito abatement meeting. And there's not a lot going on there, but it helps you kind of learn the kinds of things that the city is involved in.
Am I going to lose that? Oh, man.
Oh, Scott, we have a new person coming on. But we have a gift for you for serving, and Ryan's got it.
Did you want to come up here and we can take a picture?
Yes, we
Oh.
should.
Oh, boy.
I'm excited.
What does this say?
It's really cute.
We'll show you first. We wanted, the staff wanted you to at least get your way once. And so we have made it so that you got your way.
Well, that's cool.
So it's not your
Where can I put this?
boring plaque.
There's like
It's a city
electrical
sign.
pole in front of my house. Can I nail it to that? Is that okay?
Not officially.
He can do anything he wants.
Here, well, let's shake hands.
I don't think I want to be in the picture.
Just smile. So if you're photo bombing, you at least look good.
I don't want to ruin the picture. That's cool. Never go away.
I want one of those. I've never gotten my way.
I don't believe that for a
You
minute.
get it all the time.
I always like to do things that are different
Thank
rather
you.
than just boring plaques. So Rob pulled some real strings in order to get that here early.
Quick,
So
our idea stream didn't come really fast, but we got there.
I really like it. Thank you. Yeah.
so congratulations. Thanks for your service. But you're not done serving.
No. I think I'll
Okay.
keep coming to a few meetings here and there.
We got to use that knowledge base somehow. So I'll close that portion of the meeting and we'll go to approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, November 18th, 2025.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and second. All in favor?
I,
I
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. This next one is public comment. And I'm going to read the names off of the list. This public comment that we're doing here is not a public hearing. It is a place where if it's not on the agenda, you can come up and speak to whatever subject you have. Just be aware that this is not a dialogue between the council or the mayor. If you have issues that you want to talk about, you should call them separately, because if it's not on the agenda, we cannot discuss it by law. So if you have something that is not on the agenda that you would like to say, most are general. Chris Studinger. So state your name and you will have 2 minutes. Ty is going to time you and it will ding when you're done.
Hi, my name's Chris Studinger. I was just here to offer support regarding item number 4. The ordinance, it's basically strengthening that ordinance that everybody in the community should have the same rules for any home that they're residing in. That's
Okay,
it.
thank you. Hal? Okay. Perry Hilton? If it has to do with an item on the agenda, then you can speak during the item. So is there an item on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to put a check by there. So I'll call your name. Scott? So are you for an agenda item?
He didn't.
Okay.
He didn't mark.
Okay.
there.
Okay. Okay. Sherry Barry?
Yes, also, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Item number what?
4.
Okay. Tiffany? Okay. I'm not looking at whether or not people have checked, but it's okay. David? Where are you? Is your dad Jerry?
You know, Jerry.
I worked for him.
Small world.
Jay, you've got an agenda item. Terry Davies. Okay. Shay.
Item 4.
Okay. And David Hendrickson. Okay. All right. Perfect.
You missed one.
Okay. Okay. So we'll close that portion of the meeting and we'll go to reports and presentations. So it's item number 2. So we have an audit presentation and we will have, who's going to do that?
Mike Miles is going to do that. He is our the audit partner, and he'll do that. Mike, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Mike, take it away.
All right. Ryan, are you going to share that screen or should I?
I can if you want, or you can if you want to go at your pace. Which would you like?
Why don't I do that? Let's see. Oh boy. Well, maybe I don't know how. Let's see. Share.
Let me just quickly tell the audience, all of you know how to get the agenda. So
I've got
that
it
you
up,
can,
Mike, if you want.
Okay.
so that you can click on that report and go through it rather than having to look up on the screen.
Cool. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I'm not seeing the right button to share a screen. So. Well, thank you. The audit report's about 60 pages long, but thankfully, we're only going to cover about 10 pages. And we'll only do much detail on the first 5 pages. And so there's 2 presentation methodologies. There's a government-wide, which is more of a business approach that uses depreciation and whatnot. And we're going to skip that. It's not overly applicable to a budget method. So we're going to start on page 18. It's page 22 on the PDF. We're going to start with the balance sheet of the governmental funds. So Ryan, if you could jump to that page. So overall, while Brian's bringing that
Tell
up,
me the page number again.
18 on the bottom. It's the 22nd PDF page, but 18 on the report. Perfect. That's it. So we came out a few weeks ago and had a really, really good experience. Ryan set us up there in the upstairs room and we worked with Tyler. We spent quite a few hours with Tyler, before we came out. And so we had quite a bit of the work done. It was probably the best experience we've had. We've never had a negative experience, but this year was particularly good and things went quite smoothly. Hardly any corrections. We did make a few routine adjustments, but nothing concerning or alarming. So I'd just like to start with page 18 and just kind of emphasize that there's two columns here. One's the general fund, and then the other's the capital projects fund. And then there's a total for the two. We'll just talk about the total because they work together. The general fund has most of the operations, and the capital projects fund spends the big money, receives grants, and does capital improvements. You can see their cash was almost just over 7.8 million. That was an increase from the prior year of almost 1.9 million, so quite an increase from the prior year. The property tax receivable is generally offset by the deferral of property tax because they're not collected until this winter. So that was a net of about 20,000. So there's the 1,333,000 offset by the 1,317,000 of deferred property taxes. Due from other governments, these are sales taxes and other grants that just come in shortly after the year end, and then some other receivables from customers of the city. And then in restricted cash, was just over 1.7 million. That was about $400,000 higher. That's the sum of your restricted cash that is being held for road impact fees, perpetual care for the cemetery, I believe, and park impact fees. The only one that changed significantly is park impact fees. At the end of the year, there was about 917,000, and that's reflected towards the bottom of the page, Ryan, in the restricted fund equity. Last year was about 617,000, and that's grown to 917. So just monitor that, and if there's anything eligible that's not reimbursed by grants, it can come out of the impact fees.
Large
Accounts,
portion of that is for the park that we're buying and committed to. So we
yeah.
already have a lot of that committed.
Yeah, perfect. So all in all, total assets, scroll back up to the top just a hair. Total assets were 11,591,000 that was available to the city. That's generally cash and receivables and whatnot. Total liabilities were just routine payables at the end of the year to various vendors for various things. Nothing of concern there. And then fund balance towards the bottom, that grand total was 9,857,000. That was an increase from the prior year of just over 2.3 million. So another significant surplus on the year. We go to the next page. The next page is revenue and expenses of the various departments that are summarized by groups. You can see the total revenues of the city were 7.4 million. 6.4 were more or less recurring revenues, and then 985,000 in the capital projects fund, which a majority of that was grant revenue, for a total of just over 7.4 million. Total expenses were in the general fund for general government, public safety, parks and recreation, and the cemetery and whatnot, and roads were 4,217,000. Last year, that grand total was 4,068,000. So there is some inflation there. Revenues were quite similar, and expenses came up about 160,000. And then you can see in the capital projects fund, there was some grant revenue and some interest, and then total expenditures, a little bit on the roads, and then generally on some capital outlay. I think a majority of that was the parks, and probably some road work of 1,271,000. So if we scroll down, if we go to just to summarize the third row from the bottom, that grand total there, the governmental fund operations had a surplus on the year of $2,356,214. In the prior year, there was quite a bit more capital outlay. Last year, the surplus was only 105,000, and this year just over 2.3 million. So significant increase from the prior year. Any questions to this point? Okay. Let's jump to page 22. I thought it would be important to go over the 5 business type activities: the water, wastewater, stormwater, solid waste, and then the fiber optic. Starting with the water fund, there was approximately, I'll just highlight just the cash and receivables just to give you a comparison. For the water fund, cash and receivables this year was just under 4.4 million. Last year was approximately 5.5 million, and we'll talk about that decrease. There was quite a bit of construction. In the wastewater, this year it's just over 6.2 million in cash and receivables. And so that last year was about 5.2 million. So about $1 million increase in cash. Stormwater was 676,000. That was down from last year by about 40,000. The solid waste fund has no cash. It's having to borrow from the water fund to operate because it bought so much equipment to get out of the gate. And it did have some receivables of about 74,000, which was very similar to last year at June. And then the fiber optic fund, it had cash and receivables of 724,000, and last year was approximately 857. So its cash went down somewhat. There was quite a bit of construction, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. The liabilities and long-term debt were similar to last year, and the debt for the water and the fiber fund combined went down just over 3%. So there was no new debt, and just the slight incremental decrease is reflected by the annual payment. So all in all, if you look at the asset to liability ratio, these funds are in excellent condition. For example, the water fund, it has current assets, which is cash and receivables of almost 4.4 million. Its total liabilities were under 2 million. So that's a 2-to-1 ratio. That's exceptional. The wastewater fund had 6.2 million and total liabilities of under 200,000. So that I'd have to run the calculator, but that's 30-to-1 ratio, I think. The stormwater, similar, 676,000 of cash and receivables on $22,000 of liability. The solid waste, which is the garbage collection, it's the opposite, but it's moving forward and it is progressing, and we'll talk about that. And then the fiber fund, it's also progressing, but at this point doesn't have much cash and quite a bit of debt. Moving on to the next page, this will give us kind of a better idea of, are these funds self-reliant? Are they paying their way? We'll talk about one column at a time. The water fund, on revenues of 1.4 million, it had expenses of almost 1.3 million. It had some other income of 253,000, and then it received some grants towards the bottom of the page at 327,000, leaving a total change in net position, or a net income, of 705,882. Last year, its net income was 634,000, so it improved upon that. And for all of these, we'll talk about their cash flows next. But in the wastewater fund, total revenues of 1,735,000. Last year was about 1.6 million, so that was quite a bit more. Its expenses were just over 1.3 million. It received quite a bit of impact fees, and then some of those impact fees are paid to Logan City. It did receive some grants of 540,000. It had a surplus of 1,365,000. A lot of that was grant. Excluding the grants, that would have left it with about 820,000, which was still about 300,000 more than the prior year. So its net income was really good. The wastewater revenues of 269,000, expenses of 144,000, leaving it with a surplus of 125,453, and that was comparable to last year's $136,000 net income. The solid waste fund, which is, of course, just getting going, I believe in this was its first full year. Is that right? No, second full year.
Nope, that's correct.
Okay. It had total income of 809,000. That was down somewhat from the prior year, which was 936,000. it had expenses of $499,000. Oh, I know what the difference is. Last year you were paying another entity, so you've had the solid waste fund for a while, but this is the first year standing on your own. So that's why the totals are a little bit hard to compare. So this was the first full year, so total expenses of just under $500,000. So it had a net income of $310,000. Last year it had a deficit of $8,000. So heck of a good year, and hopefully it is able to sustain that momentum. The fiber fund, it had revenues of $840,000. Those revenues were $320,000 more than last year, which was about $520,000. It had expenses of $463,000. It does collect some interest and then paid some interest on its debt. So all in all, towards the bottom, it had a change in that position of $242,000. Last year was $232,000. So a slight increase from last year. So also good momentum. It's covering its depreciation and getting a return on investment, which is what you want to see. The next page, I'd like to spend probably the most, well, it's a very important page because sometimes in business activity statements like the one we just covered, they include depreciation and don't factor in debt service, the principal payments on debt. And those are two really important factors that need to be excluded for cash flow purposes. So starting on page 24 in the water fund, this first column, the first section is cash flow from operations. The second is non-capital financing. The third section is cash flows related to capital and related financing, and then the fourth section is investing. It's important that cash flow from operations is sufficient to cover debt service and capital construction that you don't want to borrow debt or borrow to construct with. So in the water, it had a surplus of cash from operations, which means the customer collection exceeded operating cash flow or operating expenses. It had a surplus of $753,000. And then there's that second section. That's the interfund borrowing between them and the garbage fund. That's the outstanding amount that the solid waste fund has borrowed from the water fund. And then there's the third section, cash flow from capital and related financing activities. So here there's some cash income. Collection of impact fees are reflected there. Capital grants, those are approximately $500,000 combined. And then there's the cash payments for capital assets or construction. And that was just a hair over $3 million on the year. And then the annual debt service is $55,000 of principal and about $27,000 of interest. And then there's some interest earnings in that fourth section of $134,000 for a surplus, or pardon me, for a cash decrease of $3,065,000. For this column, because there is that interfund borrowing between them and the solid waste, if we exclude that, and then if we exclude the construction activity, the $3,001,000, so excluding the interfund loan with the solid waste and then excluding the $3 million of capital asset construction, there was a cash surplus on the year of $951,429, which is excellent. That means every year you could expend, if all things stayed the same, every year you could expend on construction approximately $950,000 and be break even as far as cash flow wise. And that sounds great. It allows the water fund to do small projects without having to borrow significant amounts of money. So the water fund is in good shape despite the large decrease on the year. The wastewater fund, it had operating cash surplus of $701,000. It doesn't have any debt, but it did collect some impact fees of $315,000. It did collect some capital grants of $540,000, and then it expended almost $1.2 million towards construction. So even with that construction, it still had a cash increase of 489,000 on the year, which is excellent to be able to put that kind of construction cash flow and then still end the year with a surplus. The stormwater fund had a cash surplus of 158,000 for its operations. It did have some capital outlay activity of 187,000. So it did decrease 28,000 on the year. The solid waste fund, it had operating cash flow, also had a surplus of 437,000 over the last couple years. In total, it's borrowed from the water fund just over 1.3 million. That's more or less its outstanding borrowings from the other fund. But if we just look at the cash flow from operations and then we compare that to cash payments for capital assets, was a cash outflow of 376,000. That's a net increase of about 61,000. So last year, the interfund borrowing was 1,403,000, and that borrowing from the water fund is decreased to 1,342,000. So shoot, in the next 20 years, that'll be paid off and they'll have their own cash. So I imagine it'll be faster than that, but it was nice to see a cash flow improvement in addition to a net income of 310,000. So expecting really good things out of the garbage collection fund. It looks like it's going to be successful.
Question.
Ryan, do you want to add anything to that, or?
I think we have a question. Brent, go ahead.
Does the solid waste pay interest to the water fund?
I know it does not.
No.
Boy, can I get a loan like that?
I suppose you could.
Know the right people.
So,
our loans come at pretty cheap rates. I mean, even the fiber fund borrowing, it's at 2% over its life, and the water's at 1.5%. So we're fairly cheap rates, but no, we don't have an interfund interest rate.
I saw the fiber fund having to pay interest. I see the water fund having to pay interest, and the solid waste gets a
Fiber
break.
fund's making interest. The water fund does pay interest. The stormwater receives interest, and wastewater receives interest.
Ryan, teach me in the council list, does the solid waste fund expect to purchase any more trucks or equipment in this current fiscal year?
No, we expect that the trucks we have are a 7-year life. So we don't expect to buy another truck for another 4 or 5 years. And at the pace we're going, we expect that solid waste will be out of the negative within the next 5 years, and by the 8-year mark will be cash positive. One thing I'd like to call out to the council, keep in mind, or less, because we would have paid more to the consortium than we currently pay, and we were able to save just shy of $500,000. We're $500,000 positive because of what we did on the solid waste decision. So, and then just pointing out capital, the water, we drilled a water well, and we installed new meters. So those are huge expenditures. The wastewater is the line expansion to the sewer lift station. So that's kind of those calling out what we use that money for. Some fairly big items. And then we've built the fiber network, and we continue to do small improvements, but still making cash. So anyway.
Cool. Yeah, I support that. If the 376,000 for the solid waste fund, I believe those were expenditures early in the July and August, September of 2024, the beginning of your fiscal year, to finish purchasing those trucks.
Yeah, some of it's cans and dumpsters that we had to buy.
Oh, yeah. And so you won't have that next year. And so you're looking at, if you remove that capital outlay because it's not necessary next year, you're looking at a cash income of 400 plus $1,000. So I think, Ryan, you're spot on in your estimates. So that's good. In the fiber fund, it also had a cash surplus from operations of almost 556,000. If you go to that third section, cash payments for debt and interest, they total approximately 420,000 for debt, principal, and interest. That 555,000 is approximately $130,000 more than your loan payment. So once you're done building out the system, your cash flow from operations is adequate and more than enough to cover your debt service. So that's great.
That's good.
There was the completion of some line extensions, and that the system is largely in service now. There was a capital outlay of just over 1.1 million. So it's cash because of the completion of the various line extensions in the system. There was a cash decrease of 983,000. At the end of the year, there was a cash balance of 663,000. So, any questions, council, to this point? Because now we're going to start moving. Let's jump to page 34. There's just a small chart of the cash and how it's held at the end of the year. Yeah, that chart towards the top of that page. This is citywide. So it's not, the water has its own cash, like we just talked about, and the sewer has its own, and the general government has its own. But if you combine everything, it's just a bit over $20 million. 3.4 million of it was in checking at the end of the year. In the Zions investments, just over 5.6 million, and then the balance of it in PTIF, just over 11 million. Let's jump to page 36 now. So on the assets for the governmental funds, largely roads and parks and recreation, which I believe made up most of the activity this year. There were additions, total capital outlay additions of $1,271,617 on the year. There were some projects that have been ongoing and that were put into service and completed. And so they get retired and then their depreciation starts. So if you net all those figures, it was an increase or a total addition to assets of just over $1.2 million. So quite active there, and you're still not done. Ryan described to me all of the really neat additions to your park system with ball diamonds and soccer fields and other parks and improvements. Pretty cool stuff. On the next page, page 37, netting those additions and retirements of projects put into service, and then other additions in the middle section. $5,848,214 was spent on additions for those, all your different business type funds, from water to wastewater to, to stormwater and fiber and whatnot. So just under $5.9 million put into your business type activities. Pretty impressive. There was no new debt on any of those additions. The next page, page 38, is a summary of your long-term debt. You have two notes. You have a 2020 water revenue bond for the water department. It decreased $55,000. Its interest rate is 1.5. So it had an ending balance of just under 1.8 million. And then your fiber optic fund, it had its first payment. It started out at $7,750,000, $240,000 reduction, and it's just over 7.5 million. Both are earning less than the PTIF accounts, and so there's really no compelling reason to accelerate any of those loan payments because you're making more in interest than you were paying in interest on those loans. In the middle of the page, it just reflects a 5-year schedule of your debt service and then 5-year groupings thereafter. So your total debt service principal and interest for both those loans is just a bit over 500,000 a year. A majority of that would be your fiber fund. Let's jump to page 49. If you're having trouble sleeping, just go ahead and read through what Ryan's scanning over right now. So, page 49.
Sometimes we need snooze material.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I appreciate that, Mayor. This page 49 is just a summary of your budget for the general fund. The other departments and funds are not required to present a budget, and so they're not in the report. However, all departments and funds were under budget, and that was awesome. So total expenditures, total budgeted expenditures there in the middle of the page for the general fund was $5,052,000. Total actual expenditures was $4,217,000. So $835,000 under budget for your various departments within the general fund. So well done there. And then the rest are just government reports that we're required to put in there. One is a what's called a Yellow Book report, in which we would identify any compliance findings or control deficiencies. And then the last report is a report for Utah compliance, and there are no findings on either of those. So really good year as far as findings, no issues to report. So Ryan and Tyrell were really enjoyable to work with. It was fun. So that concludes my thrilling remarks.
We love it. Thank you so much for making sure that we're on track. And Ryan, of course, has done an outstanding job of making sure that our money is used wisely and we are staying under budget with everything that we do. So thank you.
One note that I like to find, the little gems to toss out. We had 6 million in new construction items, and 1.8 million of that was in grants.
Yeah.
Just to toss that out, that a lot of that money, we're getting money from elsewhere to build a whole lot of our system, and that is, if you look at our cash, our cash is increasing even after spending almost 6 million in projects throughout the year.
It's the only way to fly, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the audit, and we appreciate your take on how things are going. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any questions by the council? Okay. Ryan, you have any comments you want to make?
No more comment.
There's nothing else to say because it's having no findings is unusual.
I should have started out with that and then just hurried and up and ended. So
Thank you so much.
all right, have a good evening.
so-
Thanks, y'all.
You ready?
We need to approve this.
Yes.
So I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion
Okay.
that we approve and accept item number 2, audit presentation and review.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay. Item number 3, 100 East plans and updates. As we went through this process with 100 East, there were some reports that we promised that we would give the citizens. And so we have attached to the agenda all of the reports that we promised. And Ryan, is there anything that you want to say about this?
Just call out that the tree, the audit, the arborist report is the tree assessment. Environment is our environmental reports. Engineering estimate is the estimate of cost. SHPO is the State Historic Preservation Office. Their comments on the project. Then there's the project standards, which is the wording towards it's what will be required in wording format. And UDOT plans, those are the drawings of it. But these are comprehensive of what I believe has been asked, and this is a return and report. Here is what has been asked, and here are the reports that you have requested. So they are
Okay, so now they're publicly available on the
publicly
website.
available on here. There's
You
your
can
comment.
click on it, read them to your heart's content. And there is no action to be taken with this. And so,
Can I
well,
make a comment?
yes, you may make a comment.
Yeah, so I don't remember how long ago it was. I made the motion that included reporting on all of these things, and it's a motion that I kind of regret because it made it really difficult to move forward. But I also wanted the citizens to be heard and to look through each of the things that were being brought up to me as concerns. I wanted them to know that we are doing our research thoroughly. And because part of the motion was, to report back on these different things, that's why the agenda item is on here. And research has been very, very thorough before moving forward with this project.
Thank you. Terry, you signed up but didn't sign to speak.
You also said that we had an agenda, there's something on the agenda, and you could, I just had a couple questions. Not controversial, I'm just asking for questions.
Okay, as long as you recognize that we're not going to answer those questions here. You can make a comment.
Thank you. My name is Terry Davies. I'm at 97 South 100 East. Let me phrase it so I don't ask questions, but I have a concern based on the fact that we have socially and publicly mentioned that we will not be cutting down any trees. And obviously, that happened last month. Just with reading the items on the agenda, and it's stating that we're going to have a 5-foot sidewalk placed in the yard, which we're not opposed to sidewalks. I just question if there's been any recognition of the pins in our yards, that if you were to put a sidewalk in our yard or in the yards of the citizens, then it would clearly affect the trees. So
Okay.
that's
Thank you. Okay, we'll close that agenda item and go on to agenda item number 4. This is ordinance number 7-2025, PCC 1-3-2, resident for persons with disabilities amendment. The Providence City Council review, discuss, and may take action on an ordinance that amends PCC 1-3-2. Amendment seeks to clarify the definition of residents of persons with disabilities. Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 19th and recommended that City Council approve the amendments. If you want to look at the ordinance, you can pull that up on your agenda. So I will allow comments.
Can I just make one
Yes.
little thing first? I just want to point out what the change in this is,
Okay.
if that's all right. At this point, this is our code that's proposed to be changed is our definitions. This is the definition of residence for persons with disabilities means. So this is simply only a definition section. This isn't regulation underneath. This is adding just a line to the definition to clarify. The only change is adding which complies with laws applicable to the type of dwelling being occupied. So if you go to the use chart, I think I have. Okay, if you go to the use chart, these are the dwelling types, and then the uses follow. So it's just saying, hey, it is both what the dwelling is as well as what the use is. So it's just a kind of a clarification, but that's the only clarification that's being made, is adding that. So anyway, just wanted to point out that's what this is. So, you know,
Not a change to the code. It's just a definition
just adding
strengthening.
to the definition.
Okay. So we have Perry Hilton.
I think you had to leave.
Okay. Sherry Berry. So state your name.
Sherry Berry.
Okay.
I wasn't able to be here last month, but I did listen in on the meeting, and I think there was a lot of misinformation and miscommunication on what was being discussed in that meeting, and just appreciated that the Planning Commission stayed focused on what was actually being discussed, on just that clarification on the code. And I'm just here to support the clarification on the code so that all homes have the same restrictions and limits on them, no matter who lives there.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
Jay Hymas. Mayor and members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to begin by saying this. I respect the body, I respect the role of local government, and I respect the responsibility you carry to steward the community carefully and lawfully. I'm here tonight because words matter, especially when these words affect housing for people with disabilities. You have been told that this ordinance is merely a clarification of what Providence City Code already reads. I need to be very clear and very precise about explaining what that is not, or why that is not accurate, excuse me. The ordinance does not clarify existing law, it changes it. And the difference matters. Let's start with the current code and what the current code actually says. Providence City Code 1-3-2 defines a residence of persons with disabilities as a residence where more than one person with disability resides, in which the license or certified by the appropriate state authority. That is an entire operative requirement. There is no language in the existing code that explicitly ties disability residents to zoning-based occupancy caps. There is no language that imports single-family occupancy limits into the definition. There is no language that conditions disability housing on the underlying dwelling type. If that requirement already existed, the amendment would be unnecessary. The fact that new language is being added proves that the current text does not already do what the city now claims it does. Let's talk about the phrase being added. The amendment adds a new requirement that residents must comply with laws applicable to the dwelling type being occupied. That phrase did not exist before. The phrase does real legal work. It introduces a new condition that changes how disability housing is evaluated and enforced. This is not a clarification. This is a substantive change. The court is very clear on this point. When legislative body adds new operative language, it is not a clarifying text. It is altering the legal standard. Calling it a clarification does not make it one. The city has argued that the word residence already implies zoning compliance. That argument fails for three reasons. First, incorporation by implication is not how disability protections work. When laws affect protected classes, restrictions must be explicit. Silence cannot be used to impose limits that were never clearly stated. Second, The current code expressly defers to state licensing. That matters. State licensing already regulates occupancy, safety, staffing, and capacity. When the local ordinance explicitly relies on state licensure, courts interpret that as intentional deference, not additional overlap. Or sorry, not accidental overlap. Third, disability housing is treated differently under both state and federal law. If zoning occupancy limits were already controlled disability residents, there would be no need for this ordinance to cite Fair Housing Act or case law. The city is doing this now because the law was not clear in its favor. The city's own notes prove exactly that. I'll just add one more thing. In part of our, this is going a little off course. In part of partly tried to mitigate future problems. Part of our process with the HHS is to keep a log of all vehicles who show up, all visitors. I keep a very clear log, and that's part of the health and safety, and not to create a public nuisance with these types of places. So the city's request, I will give this log at any given time, should it be a problem. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Shay?
I'm Shay Studinger. I'm a resident of Providence City. I did attend the commission hearing last month, and I wanted to support the city in clarifying this ordinance. We have differences of opinions, and that's what makes things beautiful here, that we can have those and still come together and discuss them. We are in agreement that resident is defined already in our code, and that the clarification is only here to present it a little more clearly, that residence means what it is defined as in the ordinance, and that we believe that in any dwelling, occupants should be held to the same occupancy limits or housing, dwelling, whatever, across the board, that no special group would be given a special privilege, that all homes, single family residents or otherwise, however they're defined, would be the same occupancy limits regardless of who lives in them, so that we don't end up giving special privileges to any such group one way or the other of however they feel. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Hi, David Hendrickson, resident of Providence City. I'm just here to support the amendment. I just have the same rules apply to anybody. Everybody who lives in the community just have to do the same. So thank you for considering that amendment, and thank you for what you do. You guys are here serving the community. I rely on good people like you, to back me up when I leave to do the things I have to do. So thanks. You guys do way more than just this meeting tonight. So I recognize that, recognize your time you put into making Providence City what it is. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of the people who have signed up. At this point, I'll entertain a motion, and then we'll discuss.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 07-2025 PCC 132 residents for persons with disabilities amendment.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess it would be fair to tell the audience that part of our homework is listening to the Planning Commission and listening to the public hearings. And so, and having discussions with people outside of here, and hearings and emails and responding to emails, all of that goes into our decision making. So when we don't have discussion, it's because we are not by law allowed to discuss with each other outside of this meeting and public meetings, but we can discuss with citizens, and we do a lot of homework before we come. So it's not that we haven't listened, or if we don't discuss something.
Thank you for clarifying. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We go to item number 5. This is ordinance 06-2025. Wildland Urban Interface Proposed Code Amendment. The Providence City Council will review, discuss, and may take action on an ordinance regarding a proposed code amendment to Providence City Code 9-6-7 and 10-5-7 as it relates to the city wildland urban interface code. I think you've heard us say that it's WUI. We have to have acronyms for everything. Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 19th and recommended that the City Council approve the amendments. So they are listed on here. Ryan, did you want to?
Yes, I will
Something?
start. I will start, and we have Chief Thompson with us.
That's going to answer the hard
He's
questions.
going to answer the hard questions. Yeah, he was excited.
We're ready
he was
to
so
go.
excited, and we're excited to have him. We love to have him here in Providence, especially when it's not in the truck. So this is a fairly somewhat simple and also complicated. The first thing that the state has required is that we adopt the 2006 WUI code, Wildland Interface Code. We are following a lot of that in because of our water pressure levels inside of those on the East Bench. We follow a lot of that. So this isn't going to change a whole lot for us. So adopting the WUI code isn't a real big deal. And our inspectors and everything. So this isn't going to be something that's onerous for us. The second piece of this puzzle is a map defining high risk, and there is a several different layers in which we can choose. As we discussed with the Planning Commission, the discussion of a 7, or actually the discussion of following the Bonneville Shoreline Deer Fence Trail and establishing that because it has its fire break. What was discussed and recommended. So the state does also create an assessment for those that are in high risk and an evaluation method. Those are the details I'd really like to be able to have the chief visit on and be able to kind of explain some of that, what the difficult part is. So I've taken the easy part. Some of these is really easy. I'm going to pass the hard part to him and make him, as the fire expert, tell us some of the reasons there. Is that fair? I will already take the easy part and tee up for the hard part. Now, for those in the audience, I would let you know that of all the things on this agenda, agenda item, this is probably the one that is the most concerning and you should be most concerned about. This is adding a property tax from the state level that has never been done before. This is a reach from the state that adds quite a bit of responsibility to individuals. And while it appears maybe a less item, this is a huge reach from the state when they start taxing down to the property tax level. They haven't gone to there before. The other one that will come up is water assessment, and they're reaching down to the to your water bill. These are things the state is overriding it a 200 years of 150 plus years of precedent, and they're coming to assess directly down to the property tax. Most states and a lot of states are going away from property tax. This is a state that is going deep into this. This should be something that concerns you. It certainly concerns me as a property taxpayer. So anyway.
Well, the concern too that I have is that this impacts your insurance. The insurance companies can look at this and say, oh, you're close to this fire area, and perhaps we should be charging more for your insurance. So look at it in that, with that in mind, is that this is additional information that your insurance company may use. Yeah, against you. Your turn, Chief Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and other staff. So, no, Ryan set that up very, very well. We've had to have a lot of conversations. Just a little bit more backstory for you, and I'll keep it super high level. House Bill 48, the WUI bill, we call that, was sponsored by our own Casey Snyder. Okay. I highly recommend with the town hall, take the opportunity. I'm going to educate you really quick tonight on some of the basics of what to expect with this bill and the outcome of it. But I think Ryan set it up perfectly in keeping the two things separate. Okay. So what I want to talk about is within that bill, this is actually a supplemental add-on to what we've all been participating as, and what as your fire department we help you fulfill each year is the CWPP program. Okay, that's the Cooperative Wildfire Protection Program. That is your insurance for if a fire starts in Providence City and goes up on the mountain. It protects your city from millions of dollars of the cost of that fire. Now that's been happening the entire time that Logan City has been your fire department. Okay, we make sure that's just done every year. We work cooperatively with Ryan and your public works. We make sure mitigations work to meet that. It's fairly easy to meet, okay? And with that program, the oversight of the CWPP program is the CWS program. As you know, the state loves acronyms, so I'm gonna throw a lot out there at you. So I apologize. But that's the Cooperative Wildfire System. With the Cooperative Wildfire System, that is the group of cities that are protected in Utah, and that program protects you. That's the protection from wildfire, okay? Or the cost coming back to a city. The Green Canyon Fire in North Logan, perfect example. Luckily, we were able to stop that big fire. It almost cost $1 million. We were on that fire for about a day and approached $1 million. One of the first calls from the FFSL department was to ensure that North Logan was compliant with the CWS. So my first thing I'll let you know is, why are we doing this? Because I think councils have excellent questions on, wait, why are we doing this? The state's not done with their piece yet. Well, we want to keep you in compliance with the CWS. That would be my goal as your fire chief representing Providence City, to ensure that we don't compromise that compliance, because they have tied this to that program. Okay, so that's first and foremost. So I like the infographic they've sent out. So let me just kind of give you an idea visually of what we're talking about with this new House Bill 48 edition. So the heavy black dotted lines, envision that as Providence City boundary. Okay, so that's Providence City. Then take the blue box that's representing, and then it's taking us over to WUI mapping. Okay, Wildland Urban Interface mapping. That is also in addition to adopting the 2006 Wildland Urban Interface Code. You additionally have to identify an area within your city that you're going to apply that code. So think of it as creating a new zone. You already have residential zones, commercial zones. Essentially, we're creating a zone area, a map, which is nicely added to your, I've looked at the resolution today, the ordinance that we're looking at, and it references the map, and you'll see that in there. So we have to identify an area for Providence City to apply the WUI code, the 2006 code. So does that make sense? We adopt the code. Providence already does an exceptional job in meeting probably most of the requirements of that code. It's an old, it's 2006. I mean, it's almost 20 years old. So that's what we need to do in Providence City tonight. I like to keep them, it's super important we keep them separate from what the state is doing. And I will brief you on the state's plans quickly here, but I just wanted to make sure that's the ordinance. We're adopting the code, and we're identifying the area that we're recognizing as we're going to apply that code. So, well, what have people been using? I'll get to that in a minute. We'll show you the different lines. So let me just jump over real quick to introduce what the state is doing, referencing back to what Ryan said. So you see the red box, that's the high-risk WUI mapping, okay? That is the map that the state of Utah, through the Forest Fire and State Lands, they're using a new sophisticated mapping tool, apparently, that's a little different than the mapping tool we have available. Okay. We use what's called the Utah Wildfire Risk Assessment portal, and that's provided by the DNR, and that's a system that Ryan can access to kind of look at those things. So the 7 he's referring to comes from that reference, from the URAP tool, okay? So 7 is an SCS score. It's your structure, let's see, what is the SCS? Just left me. The structure exposure score, okay, the SCS. What that includes is the likelihood it's gonna burn in the event of a wind-driven fire, and its ember load, how far embers could carry off what's burning, okay? That score goes from a 1 to a 10, okay? So the SCS that we're referring to is the 7. That's the number we think the state is going to use for their map. Now I say I think because I haven't seen the map. They've told us that's the data they're probably going to use. So what the other cities have done, so in our jurisdiction, we have Providence, Logan, River Heights, and North Logan, okay? The other 3 cities have passed their ordinance, and they've all settled on the 7. And so this has been discussed, hey, what's the best probability of matching what the state does, okay? So keep in mind, what Providence does carries no fees with it, all right? That zone that you're gonna create is just for an area to apply the zoning requirements or the building requirements from the WUI 2006 code. So the high-risk WUI mapping from the state, that's the one that's going to have fees assessed to it. Now they're still working out what those fees look like. They range from a high risk, which is a category 3, so an extreme risk of 3, moderate risk at 2, and high risk at 1. Okay, everyone will come in that is in that red area will be assessed to category 3. Now, whether that's $100 a year, where it's $1,000 a year, we don't know that yet. They tell us we'll see that rate January 1, 2026. So that's where
still
that
going to
comes
be
from.
House Bill 48?
That is House Bill 48, correct.
So they'll modify House Bill 48? Or it
No.
has not passed yet?
It's passed.
Oh, no, it's passed.
Yeah.
But the map's
January
not
1,
complete.
2026, you can see the boundary map. They will release this map and everyone will know. So we can all quit holding our breath and trying to crystal ball this thing. Now, the good news for you, what I have heard, the preliminary map, which I have not seen, I've just been told of it, is really close to the 7. Okay, so there may not even be a home in Providence that's affected. But I will go back to the point the mayor said. Historically, nationwide, as bills like this have passed, insurance companies do notice that you now have a WUI zoning, they would call that, and say, look, you do live super close. So it may, I can't tell you if it is or isn't going to affect insurance, but that is certainly something to keep on your radar, that it is possible. I happen to know a councilman in Logan that is close to the zone and was denied his insurance already. They wouldn't renew him. So that is a fact. That happened last month. So you don't know how that's going to, just the rumor of it gets people worked up. Okay. So any questions on that? That's a lot, but that's kind of a high level, what we're doing in Providence in the ordinance and what the state is still doing, yet to be determined, fees, when it comes out. It's probably going to take them 2 years to really even get a fee structure in place, but there's certainly some things coming, and hopefully Providence has minimal impact, and we can show you that on the map. So,
but it pays for all of us to pay attention to what the legislature is doing.
100%, 100%, yeah. Any questions on that? Does that kind of clarify some things? Go ahead there, Councilman Speth.
So I look at the map, Exhibition B. There are spots on there that are quite a ways down in town. And I have driven and looked at the spots on your map. And I cannot justify this map in classifying it as 7. Because there are areas that should be possibly in a 7, totally overlooked. But I looked at a person who has a vacant lot that is a 7, but the other vacant lots are not 7s. I look at this map and I think, how is a person going to deal with this map if this is the beginning item? Because how are they going to be able to justify to their insurance company or anybody else that they don't qualify under this? So I have a real problem with Exhibition B. I don't agree with it because I have driven our city. And
So you think, so you think it should be more strict or less strict?
less strict. Oh, absolutely less strict. Unless we're going to get very, 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 very technical. And I don't know what the criteria was for identifying these brown spots in Providence.
I think to that point, I think it's the.
I think we're
sporadic
okay,
brown points.
Councilman. Yeah.
The sporadic brown points out here. So if you see some of these just little dots, like out of the middle of nowhere, there's a dot.
Yeah.
And so that's why the planning commission went, instead of the 7 specifically, I think they talked, and I'll review, but that's why the discussion is the deer fence trail, to have it consistent down and remove these little miscellaneous dots.
Yeah.
I could approve that.
Yeah, I don't think that was, maybe that was, and that was why we want to make sure there's no misinformation. So when you create a zone, and I guess like if you look at some of the cities, sometimes there's areas that are coded differently, zoned differently, but this is really created, the intent is to be an area. So in this, if you were to look at the brown line there, that pretty much follows
Sure, the
deer
Bonneville
fence.
Shoreline Trail. You bet.
Bonneville Shoreline Trail. So in Logan City, their line, their WUI zone line is the Bonneville Trail and the deer fence. Pretty much Logan and Providence will align perfectly. Everyone within our zone has pretty much adopted the same area. The little tiny areas are not in play. This data just has to come from the URAP tool. I don't have the ability to go in and delete all those little areas. So the line is intended in definition to be that Bonneville and trail and the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and the deer fence. That's the
My
7 official.
concern in adopting this map is a future impact to these little brown spots that are downtown, because even though the intent was the Bonneville Shoreline Trail.
Yeah.
So an insurance company says, "Oh, well, looky here. Look at this map here that your city adopted.
Yeah.
And this spot, you're in this spot, or you're near this spot. Therefore, your insurance is going to go up, or we're going to deny you insurance." Somebody's going to look because we adopted this. I can't, in good faith, adopt Exhibition B. I can adopt the WUI code. I totally understand the WUI code. But the Bonneville Shoreline Trail is the boundary, and this map needs to reflect that, or I can't adopt it.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, that's entirely up to you as a city, and our recommendation is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. So, and not including those. So a Photoshop of those little dots, I mean, we'll find a pro Photoshopper and we can help you out. So,
well, if I make a motion to approve the WUI code, which I fully intend to, it will be to adopt an Exhibition B that has been modified to follow totally the Shoreline Trail, and all the other spots that are indicated throughout the city have no meaning and have no application to what we're doing here tonight. They should be removed from the map. But I know the necessity of adopting the WUI code because I've been in.
Sure.
I know where we're
Sure.
at with that.
well, the other, if we're talking about friendly amendments, my other suggestion would be to define it in Word. So, for example, in North Logan and Logan City, we drew the map, and then we, in actual words, defined the boundary. So on the northern city boundary, for example, boundary runs east to Bonneville Shoreline Trail or city boundary, south down, right? Like just to write that in. And that's an easy addition to that exhibit. And that would be my recommendation in that, if you're going to do that. But I don't think removing the little dots are a problem at all, because with the 48, with House Bill 48, what it recommends is when you create the WUI zone, it's created by public officials, knowledge from the current area in referencing this material, right? So to me, as I look at those little dots, for me, in terms of knowledge of those things, I mean, we don't even really know what those things are even relevant, because this tool is using data from whenever, right? That's why they're using a new tool for the one that will actually be the fee. from the state that'll actually carry fees. So I think that's the only thing you really need to do in terms of boundary. And we can show you. I mean, do you have the 5, for example? So let me just throw something else up here for you and to see as we work through this with Ryan on what we were up against with this bill. So I think I sent, so, okay, so for that, Councilman Speth, that gives you a better idea. So that's an SES of 5, okay? And look at the impact in Providence there, okay? Now, they wanted us to use that as a discussion point. Should you have any type of WUI code enforcement in those areas above that area? Because keep in mind, a lot of people get confused what that WUI is. It's basically where development meets undevelopment. It's not necessarily forest into house. It can be June grass. It can just be anything undeveloped. And you know, I mean, even dry grass can carry huge flame lengths on it, very destructive fire. So a lot of people think, well, we're not even close to trees. Well, it has nothing to do with that. It's development with undevelopment. So one thing this map probably didn't take into account is the growth in Providence. I mean, look at the water supplies and the road infrastructures that have been placed on that bench. So that was our starting point because the Forest Service or the FFSL asked us, hey, start at a 5 and have a discussion. So as we talked with all of the cities, that was our starting point. As we looked at everyone's, you know, their infrastructure and the water supply on the hill and the development, right, with good spacing between homes, we landed, you know, on the 7. So that, like I said, is pretty much unanimous amongst our coverage area. So that's, you know, that the SES 7 is what we would recommend. But we could certainly add a, you know, description of the you know, the line there.
So do we need to adopt a number and then, like, is that part required to have the number? We just have to set a line.
It has to be a boundary, a zone, yeah, or a boundary line. And in this case,
So we
the
don't need
Deer
both.
Fence Bonneville Shoreline Trail is your boundary because everything east of that is 7 and above. I mean, as you get into the forest,
Sure.
if I were to show you that map as it goes up to the 10, right? It gets very dark orange as you get into the forest. So yeah, you just need the boundary line. Yep.
It doesn't have, the state hasn't dictated that it has to be a 5, 6, or 7.
No.
That's just the data that's available for what we're aware of that they may use, but we don't actually know that they'll use. So we just have to have a boundary.
Yeah.
And so the staff supports the drawing it at the deer fences as Councilman Speth has mentioned. So.
Yeah. And I think it's an excellent point, Councilman. It'd be no problem to probably remove those, like in Photoshop. It's just I can't use it in that tool because on the URAP tool, that's how that comes up. So all we'd have to do is get a map, you just use the GIS map from the county and just draw the line and attach that instead, right? But I wanted you to be able to see the tool that reflects wildfire danger, so you could actually see their data and how it's displayed. So.
Well, and that's what they're accessing. That's what they're looking at.
Yeah, that's what they're looking at. They keep telling us there's a little more sophistication to their new tool, but I'm going to say it's probably the SES of 7. I think
Well, they
it's
don't
pretty
live
darn
here,
close to
so.
that. Yeah. So hopefully we see their map in 2 or 3 weeks. So.
Well, I think it's probably wise to explain the boundaries since they're working on 2 different mapping systems. But where would you add that wording? Section 8, maybe? Change?
I would say the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. I mean, I don't think our north boundary is a problem. I don't think our south boundary is a problem. Millville's got a problem, but ours is a shoreline trail.
Yeah,
on the east.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind, once that map is released from the state, as a council and city, you may want to revisit that. And now that it's in ordinance, if you want to adjust that line, you can, if you feel like that's the right thing to do. And as the city develops on that east bench, that's really what they're hoping to do with this. I think that was their hope, is that cities would look and plan for wildland urban interface, issues and plan accordingly to try to prevent those types of devastating fires. So.
Seems like there's a lot of cost goes in when you get flagration across the buildings too. And look at the area down in Salt Lake where some of that happens, and a lot of people are displaced. And so we got problems, but yeah, we'll try and work with it. But I think the boundary is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail for us.
Yeah, and so, yeah, to be able to put, hey, from the north boundary of Providence City running south along the Bonneville Shoreline Trail to the south boundary of the city is our designated WUI zone area, and you've fulfilled the requirement of the law.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? And maybe when the state map comes out, you know, I'm happy to come back and
We'll jump on it.
introduce that one. Yeah. Well, hopefully it has minimal impact really to the citizens here in Prov. I really hope that it's very, very minimal. So that's what we're hearing.
We have great fire coverage.
You do.
We
You
appreciate you,
absolutely do.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
You, what was his name? David Axon? David Axon?
Oh, I know David
Him?
Axon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we miss him?
You miss him?
Is this meeting being recorded?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Very, very much.
It's being recorded and live streamed.
Oh yeah,
public.
we love our
check it.
Dave.
All
Yeah,
right.
he's a
It's
character.
recorded now.
Yeah, he's a great guy. We miss him.
Okay.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 06-2025, an ordinance of Providence City adopting the 2006 edition of the International Wildland Urban Interface Code with a modification to Exhibit B to indicate that our north boundary remain as it is. Our east boundary will follow the Bonneville Shoreline Trail to the south boundary as it is indicated on the map.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Did the chief leave?
Oh, he's here.
Oh, there he is. I was looking for you on the front row. Thank you so much for taking time to come and explain that to us. Let's go to item number 6, ordinance 08-2025 PCC 10-9-8. Mining and similar activities code amendment. Providence City Council review, discuss, may take action on an ordinance that amends PCC 10-9-8. Mining and similar activities. Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 19th and recommended that the City Council approve the amendments. So, Ryan, is this one yours?
I can start, and if there's any questions, Scarlett can help answer. This is code that has been worked on by the Planning Commission. It was first brought up that there was maybe some lack of ordinance regulation on the potential of a mining operation, and so that was brought up. We reviewed our code. In the codification, the code on mining had didn't fit through that codification. It got removed, and so this is a restoring of some of that code, updated, and has taken into consideration the comments made by the public, the concerns that were brought up by the Planning Commission. And this is the result of the Planning Commission's work on that, as well as the staff. And we're recommending, as the Planning Commission did, an adoption of this. It is interesting to note, or maybe notable, that there wasn't any opposition to this ordinance at the Planning Commission. So we're proposing that you adopt it. And so that if there is any future temporary mining or mining activities, we have specific regulations for them to follow. So anyway, that's what it is. Scarlett, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I would explain is, in theory, this whole code should be read in red type. But that made it very confusing for the planning commission as we went through the process and held a couple public hearings and did the things that or not one public hearing, but public discussion as well. And so we are adopting a complete new chapter here. This is an all new code, not just that red part. Like usually when you're looking at one of our code amendments, the black is existing code and the red is new code. This one, it's all new code. The red is just changes that we wanted to make stood out for the planning commission as we took comments from the public and incorporated those.
Thanks for that explanation. I will entertain a motion,
Can I ask, do you want a motion first?
and then we'll do discussion after that.
All right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance as 082025, an ordinance amending code to regulate mining and similar activities. That's probably as far as I need to, or do you want the whole thing? City Code Title 10, Zoning Regulations, Chapter 9, Supplementary Regulations within all districts, Section 8, Mining and similar activities.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion?
I had a question. Scarlett, it says an ordinance amending code to regulate mining. Should this be adding a code to regulate mining rather than to amend the code regulating mining? Just a point of clarification. Or we are amending
We're amending our city code.
a city code. We're adding a mining code.
Yeah, we're adding a code that would regulate mining within the city.
We're adding a chapter within a title.
Yeah.
So we are amending and adding a mining section to it. Okay. All right. That's clarification. That's what I needed.
Okay.
There's some questions too.
Okay.
I just noticed as I was reviewing the planning commission's minutes on this particular topic, the amendment was to add in fencing to keep kids off of the gravel. And so I just wondered if we should be more specific in our fencing, like we have in our pool section of the code, that it says it needs to be closed boarded, chain link, or other approved design to reasonably deter children from climbing it to gain access to the fenced in area. And I mean, it basically gets more specific about the fencing. I wouldn't want, the orange netting fencing to be considered acceptable, or even the open rail fencing. I know they've put a lot of that up on the East Bench and it looks nice, but it doesn't actually
keep
anybody out. Because we would hate for a child to get buried in gravel. That would be terrible. And then the standard fee schedule, is that the conditional use fee that already exists in our code, in our fee schedule? Is that what the fee is for applying for this? Or do we need to add, it's the conditional use fee? Okay. And I had a trucking question because I'm not a trucker. But in my brain, I'm thinking that if you shift on a hill, that helps control the speed with the load.
If you downshift on a hill, you reduce your speed. You have your different gear, so the engine will hold you back.
Right, but they're asking that we're not letting people shift on the hills.
So there's Jake brake shifting, which is you shifting in order for it to have a braking system, which adds noise, but downshifting in manual shifting, not in your Jake brake shifting, there is differences.
Okay. Yeah, I was just
basically an engine brake, right? Sorry.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'm thinking we don't want, I figured it was for noise, but I just wondered if it connected to the safety. Yeah, I just want them to be able to control their load. So
If a trucker has a standard transmission, he'll never shift on the downhill because he has to hold it all back with his brakes while he grabs the lower gear. And that doesn't happen all the time. Too much weight, it pushes you too fast. You can't get a lower gear. He'll take the gear, and sometimes they take him too high, and they do smoke their brakes, but you have to stay that once you start downhill with a load, you have to take and continue downhill with that. You can't shift down. I don't know about automatic transmissions in trucks, how they work.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do you want to amend your motion to include the fencing?
I think it's probably, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, keep in mind, this is a temporary operation, not a permanent mining operation. So any fencing would be temporary, because this is intended for temporary operation of the mining. This isn't allowing permanent mining operation. This is a temporary mining, and so any fencing would still have to be temporary and removed.
Right, which I think chain link could be. Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that
Right.
this is a temporary fencing issue. So, just keep that in mind. That this is,
Instead of naming what it is, we can also say that it a fence to deter access to the machinery.
Well, in theory, any fence should deter access. Like, if there's a fence, that means don't go past this. But it doesn't necessarily mean kids won't, or adults for that matter.
Right.
Would it be well to require no trespassing signs?
That's part of the ordinance.
That's in there.
yeah, I think that's in there.
Yeah, it is.
I think, is that in there?
I think
Did
it's in there,
miss
right?
it?
Yes.
Okay.
That allows the police to take action.
Yeah,
Wondered too-
no trespassing signs are required.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I
Missed
wondered
it.
on line 23 where it talks about distance from residential structures, and then it talks about property lines, and then it goes back to structures, if we want it to be consistent, or,
There's
Structure is stricken.
So there's two different things that happen in a mine. One is the crushing of the operation, and one is the stockpiling of the operation. So one is how close can you have the actual crushing equipment, and you want to have it farther away. But stockpiling next to a property line, usually you can stockpile closer to the property line, but you can't crush closer to the property line. So that is, one's a structure, a house. Somebody lives there. We want to have farther away from a housing structure, but at least as far away from a property line. So there's different pieces of the puzzle. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So all sections of the mining area must be a minimum of 200 feet from the nearest residential property line. So we're saying any active work on digging out or whatever has to be 200 feet away, but the crusher or similar machinery must be a minimum of 500 feet from the nearest residential structure. So we're saying, hey, the equipment that could cause a rock to fly, or there is active crushing, that mechanism of crushing, not only 200 feet from its neighbor's property line, but 500 feet from the structure. So if the structure is in from the property line by 10, 15 feet, whatever the setback is, they have to crush farther away. That's why there's two different standards of that.
Not to mention the noise.
Noise is obviously one, but we have a noise ordinance that requires them to have to operate within
Dampen the
certain
sound.
time periods. So we have other ordinances to manage noise and some of that.
As I met with Ryan, I had questions about dirt on the road, mud on the road, and stuff like that. But he assured me we
There are
have
already
other areas of
ordinances.
Different ordinances.
that cover that. So, and as far as the fence is concerned, a 6-foot high fence, that's a pretty decent fence. I don't know. I hear you what you're saying, but 6 feet high is a pretty good sized fence. So I don't,
That
unless
merged fabric
you,
doesn't come that big, I don't think.
unless you feel like it should be modified with that, I feel okay with what it is.
I think you can rule it to death, and if somebody wants to get in there, they'll get in there, regardless of what kind of fence it is.
I think we just say reasonably deter children from climbing it. And that's enough. I don't think we need to say that it's chain link or closed boarded or any of those things. But if it says it's 6 feet high and it reasonably deters children from climbing it to gain access to the fenced-in area,
Okay, I can make that modification.
that wording's straight out of our swimming pool code.
Okay. So I would make a modification to the motion that item 2A, in addition to the fence being 6 feet high with locking gates, that it reasonably deters children from entering the property.
Okay. So we need a second on that.
I'll second again.
Okay. Motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. One last
And
item.
clarification, it was
in
a
our-
modified motion, not an amendment, right? So it was modified. Just making sure that's recorded.
Okay. Item number 7, 2026 city meetings, events, holiday schedule. Providence City Council will review, discuss, and may move forward with approving the city's 2026 meetings, events, and holiday schedule. So you've all got a copy of that on your agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the holiday schedule for 2026.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion?
I have a few corrections. On the list, of the city council dates, it says the color on the map on the calendar is right, but it should say the 16th instead of the 6th for our city council meeting.
Oh, good catch.
And
On the 6th.
it should say 16. And then Sauerkraut Days was not highlighted on the calendar.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
not
was the
Sauerkraut Days,
whole-
the car show I meant.
Oh.
That's what I meant. The car show. That's what I meant. And I was confused about the dates between the cemetery service closure. It says December 24th to the 28th, but then on the calendar itself, it doesn't block out through the 28th, but it blocks out the 22nd for cemetery activity.
I
So
was
I
wondering
think just
about that.
making those consistent
Yeah, the 23rd is
with
when
the
I guess-
list. Yeah, so just making that holiday week consistent with the list.
Good catch.
We'll update that.
Okay. So those have been noted. Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Do we need to say with the modifications?
As amended with the corrections.
As,
there.
as amended with corrections.
Okay,
Do I need to restate the whole thing? Or is it fine?
is it a modification? We'll just do a modification to it. So we'll modify that. The second. Did the second.
Oh, did I do it?
I do. You did.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that ends our business for the open meeting. I need a motion to close the
Staff
meeting.
reports first.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm just hurrying along. Okay, staff reports.
All right. I'll go through staff report here. Just kind of summarizing a few things. Over the past year, we applied for over 10 million in grants. And over the past 6 years, we've applied for over 50 million in grants. We are currently in the process of expanding Hillcrest Playground, which has been ordered, and we're with good weather. They might be able to get it in. We'll see how the weather turns. Once we plan it to put it in, yeah, the weather will probably turn. The Grandview purchase property is proceeding. We're waiting to the first of the year to finalize that because of tax reasons for the seller, and moving some of the material. The Thompson Field has got its one side of the trails done, the other one's dug out. The irrigation is mostly in. They'll finish putting in that in the spring. We're currently working to replace sidewalks throughout the downtown area that have been lifted more than the 2 inches. We did a cutting of trip hazards, and we cut over 7,000 trip hazards before. Now we're finally getting into replacing different pieces. So you probably have seen that crew in various areas in downtown. So they continue to do that. We don't have any current legal issues going on right now with the city, which is great, which saves us a significant amount. Over this last year, we've replaced or are replacing over 1,000 water meters. Currently, with our AMI system, water reading system, we are the most advanced water system in the county. We're currently working on our well house design, the sewer lift station management. Because we took that in-house, we saved over $600,000 in bringing it in-house, and we received a $600,000 grant for sewer improvements between the 12th South and the lift station. We're currently working on the 12th South design with Logan. So we do a lot of things joint with Logan between our fire and with our sewer systems. Our stormwater system, we continue to build the reserves. Our garbage system, you can see it's managed. I'd call out that we've saved residents nearly $500,000 because of what we're doing. We're putting that some in cash and some in equipment investment. So we're making a huge improvement there. We have a record number of fiber connections. We're at 1,890 connections, and continue to rise, and are cash positive this year. We weren't cash positive last year because of some. So we're building that process and building a cash reserve so we can continue to pay off the debts and build that for future. Anyway, and we had a very successful tree lighting ceremony. That is always a great success. Santa brings a crowd. I think if we have meetings we want to have, we might want to just invite Santa here, and I think we'll have a crowd. He is great. The Santa we have does an amazing job and sits and talks to every kid until the last one's done. And he loves it, and he does such a good job. We have an interesting note that you won't be able to see yet, but it's working, is our restrooms. We have redone the flooring. If you spent any time at the ballpark or other facilities we have at the cemetery, our flooring has been less than ideal, and we have resurfaced and are in the process of resurfacing Uptown Park, the soccer restrooms, as well as replacing the damaged the partitions in the soccer restrooms. Zollinger Park had a resurface, and the cemetery, and so those will all look very nice. I'd have a goal to have the best looking restrooms, public restrooms, and I think we're well on our way to be able to achieve a welcoming area. And so we continue to improve in various areas, continue to make progress on the various master plans and the general plan, and so anyway, we're working well on that direction. Ty, do you have anything you want to cover? Scarlett, do you have anything you want to cover?
Yes, thank you for your service, and thank you for funding the budget and all of the good things that you do for the staff. And wish you happy holidays, because see you in January.
I echo that. We
Same
thank
to you.
Thank
I
you.
think that we are so grateful to work with you and the staff we have. Jeff, we'll miss you. And we appreciate the work you've done. So anyway, hopefully the sign goes somewhere that you can see it, and maybe not on your local street.
Ryan?
But on your property on the other side of your driveway.
I think it'd be well to share with us how much water has been out of the Spring Creek up there in the canyon and with working with the water
Yeah,
company.
working with the water company, we're almost 300 million gallons.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
I think I paid for half
That's a
of them
lot
on
of
my
water
lot.
under the bridge.
And we are doing, and that saves both the residents. Obviously, it saves the water company as well, because they don't have the risk of rejudication, so they're not risking the loss of that water. We're able to use it. It reduces our pumping costs. This last year, on that one, we had a few times in which we had either electrical issues or other issues with our wells, and because we were able to utilize that water, we didn't have to shut down or issue temporary shutdown notices to the residents. Otherwise, we probably would have had we not had the agreement. So we certainly appreciate the Spring Creek Water Board and the other water company, other water companies. We have two others, and we appreciate their working with us. And so yeah, we've been able to do quite a bit out of that. Yeah, that's a good.
And
good
with
point.
as dry as the year was, I don't think our Spring Creek water went down at all.
Yeah, we had to do a little as far as getting back. There were a few times in which it dropped below.
Slowed down.
Yeah, so we all had to share at that point a little less. But over the time, because of in the spring they're not using it, in the fall they're not using as much. We can utilize those, and although utilize it during the summer, it's a great relationship that we have. They're doing great, and we're doing great from it. So
We appreciate Spring Creek
Anyway.
and Blacksmith Fork. And
yes,
Pioneer is the other one,
And,
isn't it?
and Pioneer's the other one. Yes. So any other questions you have for the staff before we close to executive session?
Okay. Do we need to close the meeting and open?
No.
Yeah,
Or do we just need to go to enclosed?
Go to
I just
executive
need a
session.
motion to go to a closed session.
I'll make a motion that we go into a closed session for the city manager's yearly review.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.